one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Dunleavy. Here. Councilwoman Romney-Rice. Councilman Pruitt. Councilman Kaplan.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Sorry?
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes. Here.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yep.
Mayor Hamid.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by resolution number 227-2017, sending a copy to newspapers officially designated for 2018 by way of resolution number 238-2017, filing a copy in Township Clerk's office and posting it on the municipal building and bulletin board, and the mayor hereby directs that the statement be included in the minutes.
Good evening. Welcome to tonight's meeting. We also have with us, who will be joining us on the dais shortly, our Township Manager, William Broughton, our Township Deputy Manager Dean Kaczynski is here, our Township Clerk Isa Abbasi, our Keyboarding Clerk 1 Omar Staval, Clerk Office Intern Jonathan Linder, Building Maintenance Worker Clarence Barnes, and our volunteer cablecaster Ron Goodman is here as always. We also have with us pinch hitting for John Shadani and Tom Coben from the law firm of Chasen, Lamparello, Mellon, and Capuzzo. The next televised council meeting will take place on Tuesday, September 4, 2018, with public input beginning at 8 p.m. Administrative offices will be closed on Monday, September 3rd, in observance of Labor Day. Emergency services personnel remain on call 24/7. Council met in closed session to discuss the following: interview temporary chief financial officers, personal terms and conditions of employment, municipal court judge, municipal humane law enforcement officer, legal issues and/or opinions on items on open session, and litigation updates. Before we get into tonight's meeting, I'd just like to also give a round of thanks to all the township employees who worked so hard to make sure that the Cinzari, the second Homewood Suites Home Hotel at Glen Point was opened. I'd also like to give my appreciation and thanks to the township manager, the township deputy manager, the police department, fire department, and EMS on all the work that they did for the Trinidad funeral, where we had the funeral and the wake on Friday and Saturday. First item on tonight's agenda is a presentation. Jim, they're not going to be here tonight, I heard?
No, we're going to do September.
Okay. Next item on tonight's agenda is proofs for plaques. Deputy Mayor Katz?
Yes. As the self-proclaimed advisory board member of the plaque committee, there were 3 plaques that we were working on. One was the Lizette Parker plaque, which everyone has in their packet. I did speak to Tony, and I don't remember if it was by person or by text, but I did send this to him, and he was okay with this. He likes this. So I'd like to move forward with the Lizette Parker plaque. The other is the Lou Schwartz plaque. Do you have a copy of that one? Okay. If there's no objection from council, I'd like to ask the manager to move forward with this one as well.
I agree.
And then the third plaque, which is the plaque that's at the park on the rock at Andreas Park, is missing, or actually is faded and destroyed, in my opinion. It replaced the original plaque, which is missing. I'd like to make this proposal, but I'd like to send it to the Parks, Playground, and Recreation Committee for their input, changes, etc. It is in the packet. Yes, if that's okay with council.
I'm fine.
What was the first plaque you said?
The first one was the Lizette Parker plaque.
Do you have?
Yeah, it's there with the exception of Lou Schwartz, everything else is in the packet. But yes, here's the Lizette Parker one. It says, Mayor Lizette P. Parker, a passionate trailblazer whose dedicated leadership and service left a lasting impression on the heart of our Teaneck community, gone but never forgotten. And then the members of council.
Great. Okay, so we'll all agree.
So Mr. Mayor, is it okay if we give the green light to our manager to produce these two?
We have 4 nodding heads. Do we need a roll call?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
And then the third plaque to send to the PPRAB for their feedback and input on
And I
this.
just want to make sure I had sent to typos to be corrected, but the manager has those. So
On
it's with
the,
correction. The Lizette Parker plaque.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's Lizette Parker plaque that we're going to move forward on?
Yeah. Keith, you and Issa get together. He's the official proofreader now. Keith.
So you're the official proofreader, okay.
You're the
Fine,
official
but
proofreader.
we don't have to come back to the council. The manager has the green light to move
Yeah.
forward with it.
Great.
Okay.
All right, next.
Only $1 million.
Okay. Next item is proposed bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements. It's the $8 million bond ordinance that didn't go through last time. Is that?
Yeah, so on this ordinance, I wanted it to bring it before council for new business, so council could look at it and decide, what items are in, what are out, how many bond ordinances you want
Okay, so-
brought forth, or however you want to handle it.
Mr. Mayor.
Well, hold on one second. Can I just, can we kick this to the Finance Committee, go through it with you, and then we'll put together the bond ordinance for the September 4th meeting for introduction? That works?
Yeah.
I'm in agreement on that, but we got to come out of that September 4th meeting with some type of bonds. Our fire trucks are older than most people on this dais,
Gotcha.
so we got to get this going.
Okay.
So who's doing this? Who's reviewing this?
The Finance Committee. Who's on the Finance Committee besides myself?
Myself.
Who's on the Budget Subcommittee?
Oh, budget.
Huh? Me, you, and who else? Well, I got to switch one of you guys out for Henry then. Henry, you want to be on the Budget Subcommittee? Okay, so which ones do you guys? So it was me, Jim, and Mark. I'd like to switch, I want you on it, I just want to know who else is coming off. Jim will take, all right, so it's me, you, and Jim.
So Resolution 164 will make that amendment.
Yeah, make that amendment today, all right? Perfect, okay. Communications, committee reports by council liaisons? Anyone? Nobody has any committee reports?
Well,
Okay, no meetings.
wait, no, we had a zoning subcommittee meeting, right? Did we?
Yeah. The only thing that we talked about was,
Do you
again, the
have-
corner
No, we had
fence
a whole
property.
agenda. Do you by chance have the agenda? Or do you have?
I'd have to bring it back. I know there was some discussion on signs. If you give me.
Wait a minute, give me a minute.
If you want to forward it to me, William, I'll pull it up. But we can continue with the rest if you want in the meantime.
Okay, so we'll come back to that. Council listed items, making West Englewood Road and pedestrian plaza, Queen Anne to Palisade Avenue, Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, my first two, I'm going to punt it to the next meetings. I had some great ideas here. I'm still working on cleaning it up and speaking to stakeholders on both numbers. So number one and number two, I need more time to finesse through. So please punt that to the next.
Okay. Ellie, 501c3 for
Yes.
taxes.
So this is, I'd like to ask Councilmember Kaplan to give a little bit of background and explanation about this and see if this is something that we could do here in Teaneck.
So,
Municipal, he punted 1 and 2.
a while ago, obviously, the federal government changed the tax regulations affecting municipalities like ours, where a lot of the salt deductions are above $10,000. There have been, for decades, going around the country, the ability to fund charitable donations with an offset to local taxes. Congressman Gottheimer, on a call, recommended a couple articles. I printed it. I can share it with anybody that's interested. The basic gist of it is that a municipality, a state, or other entity can create a 501c3. Residents can donate towards that entity and get an offset for their taxes. Some of the taxes are 1-to-1. If you donate $1,000 to the charity, you get $1,000 off of your property taxes. The version that Governor Murphy wrote about this week is a version where if you donate $100, you would get $95 off of as a charitable donation to be chosen on your taxes. And very brief, the way this works, if you donate $1,000 to a town 501c3, you'll go on your federal income tax, you'll get a deduction for $95. That extra $5 that the town gets will go towards the cost of maintaining, running the program, whatever compliance. When the $95 gets put on your federal taxes, you get a deduction based on that, so you get $30-something back. You now get $95 off your personal property taxes plus $30-something back from the federal government. You're benefiting, in essence, from this over $120 for your $100 donation. That's how the program works. And the reason that it's not just a scam that the federal government government will do away with is that 30-something states have been doing this for decades, and in order to get rid of it, they would have to massively upset the way this has been working for 30-something states all across the country, and that puts everyone in a bit more of a pickle. So as of right now, the state seems to be enabling municipalities to do this. I would ask our manager to work with the attorneys to see what exactly we have to do in town, and I would certainly be in favor of moving forward with it.
So recently, I went to a meeting on this. Myself and Deputy Manager Kaczynski went to a meeting where they discussed this issue. Unfortunately, right now, the state hasn't put in place the proper regulations, or at least they're in the process of putting in the regulations and/or framework for this to actually work. The issue is, how will it actually work, and how will it interface with the budget process of each municipality? How will the money actually get from, if it's a police charitable fund, how do we get that deduction into a person's account? How do we segregate the amount to be used for police? And there's a myriad of issues that the state is working out. But I will speak with the attorney regarding it. And, we're staying up. The organization, the Municipal Managers Association, is watching this, and they're on top of it. So,
Mr. Manager, are there any towns that actually have enacted this in New Jersey yet?
No.
No.
Zero.
I think that the problem is that we're all in favor of it conceptually. The devil's in the details, and the devil's in not getting sued. So once we figure out that we can do this,
Or audited.
where the taxpayers will not be impacted on their taxpayers and then in turn sue us because we did this and told them to do it, then I'm comfortable moving forward. Okay, so next, my bike share program.
We discussed this. I want to know if we can move forward with a request for a proposal. I've seen a couple of the neighboring towns on Patch have just gotten this, maybe there's an update on this?
we've had meetings with Zagster, Lime Bike, and maybe one other. This is currently in the process. The RFP is being worked up by a purchasing agent. So it's in the process of.
When do you think we can get an RFP out?
Dean,
I'd say in about a month or two.
Okay,
That
so
long for-
two months at the most?
Yeah.
Okay.
To get it out or to get it back?
Get it back.
Okay. So do we need any action from the council to?
Let's move on for the RFP unless you want them to speed up the timeline.
Can we speed up the timeline?
She's in the process of other RFPs, and that will be more priority on this one, but I'll speak to her tomorrow and see if she can give me a timeline of when she can get this out.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is discussions with the chamber. Councilman Kaplan and Councilman Dunleavy.
Yeah, Keith and I have been having several discussions and meetings with the chamber about things that we can start to partner with them with and start to do some things to try to enhance the business community, make it easier to come to Teaneck, and make it a much more inviting place for businesses of all sizes. One of the things that we have, we're trying to hit low-hanging fruit right now, and so what we're doing is we're reaching out to a local Staples to see whether or not we can get discounts for back office services for all of our businesses. I hope to have an answer from them sometime, hopefully Friday or Monday, as to whether or not this is feasible. I have to check with their regional people. But it's just one of those things, one of the many things that Keith and I have discussed with them about putting a new business package together, trying to put together a destination type events that are linked to our restaurants and other services here in town, and looking at how the township can help them in doing that, whether it be through advertising or some things on the internet, things that will bring more business. Because one of the concerns that have been raised is the fact that a lot of our businesses obviously rely on foot traffic in order to survive. And we think that in looking at ways in which we can possibly start to plug in our businesses into the internet marketplace, we might be able to help them out.
perfect. So I'm in favor of it, whatever you need from the rest of us.
second.
Yeah. Okay, date and time for, date and outline for council retreat. Isa, can you help them with what they're doing over there?
Yeah, I put this on because, one, we haven't set a date yet, and I know that we were supposed to give Issa our availabilities, so I wasn't sure where we were at with that. And also, Dr. Pruitt has sent out voluminous information, a lot of which I think is very, very relevant to what we should be talking about in a retreat-type structure. I think one of the things that the retreat can do for us is we can start to look at the mechanics of our council, looking at how we can get feedback on a regular basis on projects and their progress, as well as setting up goals, maybe multi-year goals, to be able to see what we see the town looking like in 3 to 5 years. So I think a lot of the things that Dr. Pruitt had put into his information can be part and parcel of those discussions and help drive those discussions.
I just want to say, Isa, do we have a date for the retreat? Or
Yeah,
no?
that's a date.
From what I gathered, and I made my little scattergram and logic game puzzle, I have 4 members of council available the last week of August, but I know the mayor and Deputy Mayor Katz aren't here, so I really don't have much.
I'll make myself available.
I'm not available.
Okay.
Thank you.
He has
The last week of August.
Was there some?
I could have 5 council members for the last week of August at this point.
Okay. Thank you.
So it would most likely have to be the 28th of August.
Monday and Tuesday I'm available.
That's what you want to do.
Wednesday and Thursday I'm not.
Okay,
All right, so look,
so 28th.
Giovanni, let's do it, figure out some dates for the first 2 weeks in September.
That's really complicated.
Well, he's not going to be here. I don't know what Javon's availability is, that Councilman Rice's availability is, are those 2 days. You know, does it work if one of us is not there?
This would have to.
You know,
I think
that's where it
So
comes from.
Councilman Ron Rice, I believe, is available the last week of August.
It's not here.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's circle out some dates where all 7 of us can be here, and then just go from there and try to get it done in September.
What about the 6th?
Great.
The 6th? Is it
Can I use
Thursday?
this for 1 second, just to make it report?
I can do the 6th,
How would you do the 6th?
Of what?
September,
September 6th?
What date is it?
Thursday.
Thursday, 2 days after our next council meeting.
Jim, can you do the 6th?
Yeah.
Maybe we should do it on the 6th.
Yeah, I like the 6th, because then we go Rosh Hashanah the next day, and then it's going to be the holidays. So the next week, and then it's going to be
Can you just email?
Thursday the 6th, Keith? Thursday the 6th?
So we have 2
What
options.
time?
We can add Thursday, we could do 7
7
PM.
PM.
We can add that as a resolution, I'll draw it up, and we could walk it in. Or we could just do a sunshine notice and add it.
Just do a sunshine notice. Don't worry about walking it in right now.
Okay.
Just do a sunshine notice and go from there. At least that's,
Where are we doing it?
where do you want to do it? You want to do it here, or you want to do it Holy Name like we
We
always
could do
do?
it, we could do it here.
We'll leave that details. Can you work out? The holy name is
All right,
fine.
let me check holy name, and I'll get back to
We'll do
council
that.
and see what we could do for the 6th.
Okay. Jim, 2019 budget process timeline?
Yeah, I just wanted to get an idea because I think time is of the essence. I want to make sure that we're starting this process. I know the audit meeting is near the end of this month, am I correct?
Yes, the 21st.
21st. So and maybe that might be the time to have that conversation a little bit more in earnest, but I want to see us try to get this process started as soon as possible, because the other thing I want us to start to do is I want us to start to look at multi-year budgeting. I really believe strongly in looking at it that.
I'm going to speak on behalf of Deputy Mayor Katz and myself. Here's where we'll start, and here's where we'll end, and here's a multi-budget. 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0. 4 budgets done. Have a good night.
I think that, you know, we can do that, but the problem comes down to is like, you know, we have this thing called the visioning process and how people thought that the town's going to look. Councils change and people's goals and objectives change. You know, so making sure that that we have money is always my priority, and then figuring out how to spend that money is you know, it changes every 2 years on what that goal and objective is. There are certain infrastructure projects that I think that we have to invest in and make those commitments to improving. But everything else, I think it's very hard to do I mean, in my experience, it's very hard to do multi-year budgeting other than socking away for infrastructure.
Well, let's see what we can do.
Agreed. Okay, I think the next one is yours also, outlined for technology subcommittee.
Right. I sent out to the council all the ideas that have been kicked around so far. I wanted everybody to get one more look to see if this is a a list that is a good takeoff point for the things that we think we have to look at. If there's anything else we need to add on to it, obviously we could add onto it again. And also, I would also ask the public, the Subcommittee on Technology is looking at all ways in which technology can be used and applied throughout the township in a way that will either save us money or increase value to the resident. So if you have any ideas, you can send it to me at jdunleavynj.gov, teanecknj.gov, and we can try to include it in the process.
You got some ideas.
Annual alarm registration. I'm not filling out a piece of paper.
Oh,
And I'm
what? I'm
definitely
sorry, what?
not- the annual police alarm registration. I'm not filling out a piece of paper, and I'm not putting in a stamp, and I'm not mailing it. Not in 2018.
And if I
So-
could chime in really quickly, the buckle system, which many of our residents know from our library, recently contracted to get credit card processing online. I reached out just to see how they were doing it, and the company, I'd like the manager to contact them, does handle municipalities. They said they work with website vendors, and we could very easily be able to process credit card systems for, all of our vendors and recreation department, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well,
But the question comes down to is what's the charge? You're just asking you 3% on top of everything.
Right. The charge that they came up with was actually much more beneficial than 3%. And they said they specifically work with municipalities, and
That's fine. I mean,
I think also as part of technology, the committee, we have to look at connectivity. And that's connectivity between our buildings and the bandwidth we have to actually do certain things. That's a key thing.
Jim, who else is on the technology committee, subcommittee?
Keith?
You guys have, okay, you guys did put one together? Okay. All right, Keith, prohibition of facial recognition software, yes. Do you have to talk more? Okay.
just really briefly, for those that don't know what it is, the Amazon has a program called Recognition. It's been featured in the New York Times, and the ACLU has a piece on it. I have one of the articles included here. And forms of protest are inherent to our system. We need to preserve the ability of people to be able to walk around freely in our society. And while one day these programs may serve a useful purpose, that day does not appear to be today. They ran this program just using 25,000 mugshots, which is a very small sample across the members of Congress. And John Lewis popped for a false mugshot. These have a tendency to have black and brown faces disproportionately misidentified. In fact, there is one member of Congress who does have a mugshot, Mr. Gianforte, and it did pop for him, but for someone else's. And I think it would behoove us as a municipality to put an ordinance in place that we will not permit this type of technology, especially as we consider body cams for our police officers, where this could easily be used and lead to unfortunate results if somebody pops as a misidentified dangerous person and they are merely thinking that they're getting pulled over for jaywalking or something where they may be a little more loose with a police officer than they would be if they thought they were being pulled over for a grave offense.
Keith, so how do you want to handle this? You want to give it to the police or you just
Yeah,
want to
I would
put it-
like to give it to the police for review, and assuming that they don't have
Issues
any
with it.
issues with it,
Okay.
proceed to an ordinance banning it.
Great. Okay, mini libraries as permitted use and amenities at parks, okay?
This is one of the things we were talking about in the PPRAB. We wanted mini libraries in front of our parks, and last week it popped up as a issue with in
Point Pleasant.
A neighbor complained about someone putting one up, and because it's in the public right-of-way within the first 10 feet of the house, the municipality forced the resident to remove it. People already have them in town. I've seen some on Windsor. Our previous mayor just put one up in a lovely tribute to his mom. I would like for us to amend our ordinance to allow it as a permitted use, subject to whatever permit the building department has in the public right-of-way and our parks.
Gotcha. So do you actually need a zoning change for that?
Believe it or not.
Oh, my God. Okay, so you have to kick it to the planning board for,
Yep.
okay, so.
Wait, do we kick it to the planning board, or do we request the attorney to draw up?
I believe
No.
the attorney draws it up, and then.
And then we kick it to the planning board?
Remember, you just did everything over the same. You have to get their input first, and then it comes back, then we introduce them.
But then they got to go back there again.
Yeah. Anyway, whichever one
We have an attorney here. Can we introduce?
Yeah, we'll look into it and give it the proper procedure.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay,
Is
Henry,
there 4 in favor?
Yeah, we,
I'm in
you guys,
favor.
is there anybody not in favor of books?
No.
Is it, okay, so, Councilman Pruitt.
all right, there's two items on the agenda. One is the council self-evaluation. I think the last time we did that was when Lizette was around. It helps us to become a better council. It helps us to stay out of the manager's lane. And I think we should look at it and do it again, just to improve our own performance. That's an internal document for our self-improvement. The other thing is the items that we're going to look at the retreat. I spent the month of June talking to each of the 6 council people to find out what were the most pressing items on their minds, and that's what we're going to talk about when we sit down at the retreat. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, so last year, Teaneck Tops came to us to sponsor the 5K. It was their first year out. We didn't know if they were going to be successful. My commitment to them was, if it's a successful event the first year, then absolutely we will sponsor the second year. It was a very, very successful event. I think that it's something that we should get behind and sponsor. So I'd like to make a motion for the Township of Teaneck to sponsor the Teaneck 5K Tops 5K Color Run. Second, third, okay. All in favor?
Yep.
Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay. Great. Next thing is redevelopment agency. So at our last retreat, I brought up the idea of having a redevelopment agency, which what I want to do is I want to have Mr. Price come in and talk about the mechanics of how we put together our redevelopment agency. I think that rather than having somebody else look at it, I think that we should do it as a committee of the whole. It gives us power to do different things to make things easier for development to happen in the power that we want to see and the township wants to see it done, rather than doing anything where somebody's coming before the zoning board of adjustment or someone's coming before the planning board or rehashing the entire master plan. I think the redevelopment agency will do work will help us specifically in the Stop and Shop area, Alfred Avenue, and the DPW, and those 3 areas that I think.
I'm in favor of that. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay.
So can we see if we can get it for the September 4th
Yeah,
meeting?
September 4th meeting, have him come in, and then if you guys have any questions in the club, anybody has questions about how this works, what we can and can't do, we go from there, but have the ordinance ready to create the redevelopment agency also. Tom, if you can just pass that along. Great. I met with former Mayor Jackie Cates about some of the issues that the seniors are having, and one of the suggestions that I think it was low-hanging fruit that we could do right away was the plastic recycling cans. If we can get wheels for seniors, figure out how to get some plastic cans so that if they're seniors and they request wheels, we give them the option.
Mr. Manager, that our current garbage cans may just be able to get an add-on of wheels, like a round add-on that they may have. I've seen it in restaurants. They put them on like a round wheeled add-on.
It's a dolly, yeah, but
It's not a dolly. It
snaps on.
It goes onto the bottom of the round.
okay, I'm sure they can figure out how to put wheels on this.
All right,
Let's make
okay,
it-
fine.
But
Mr. Mayor,
yeah,
just if I can just quickly give the zoning subcommittee.
yeah, you got it. Okay, back to committee reports.
Okay, I'd just like to enter in for the record that zoning subcommittee met on July 31st. We met with David Carmel, who came in to discuss some of his properties that he was representing on State Street and Queen Anne. No action was taken whatsoever at that regard with Mr. Carmel. We also discussed filming permits and how to attract more filming in Teaneck appropriately and make sure that Teaneck benefits as far as financial. I believe that we left that the attorney was going to look at New York City's ordinance, which I submitted, and maybe try to mirror something like that, obviously where it's apropos. We also discussed the fencing ordinance, which we agreed on, and it's on for tonight's agenda. We also decided that the other two ordinances that the council let die at the last council sessions, that we were not going to touch them at this point. We're just leaving them as is. We talked about the parking trust fund fee ordinance. I think there's still more discussion to go into that, as well as creating a working group, which includes Dan Melfi, Adam Miska, Councilman Keith Kaplan, Deputy Mayor Ellie White Katz, Councilman Henry Pruitt, and someone from the Attorney's Office as subcommittee to review and rewrite the entire sign ordinance. And we also discussed the sign ordinance changes that are on for tonight's agenda. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Henry, did I miss anything?
That was everything. Okay, Township Manager's report.
God. Call me off guard here.
You want to come back to it?
Wait a minute.
Mr. Mayor, while he's looking.
Yeah,
Oh,
good,
sorry.
good.
You want to come back to it, or?
Mr. Manager, I thought that in the original plans for the new police, for the old police station, that there was a small council office at one point. Is that something we could still reenact, or is there a little closet that we can have in case some of us have meetings, et cetera?
Yeah, I think we can find something.
I don't know
mean,
what space.
the conference room is always available.
But I thought we had something labeled.
It's the conference room.
No.
That was, that's the one I use whenever we have
Right.
meetings here.
Okay.
It's either upstairs or downstairs, whichever one. Okay. Okay. Mr. Manager, you want to do the Township Manager report, or you want to do that at the end?
Yes. We could do it at the end. It doesn't
Okay.
matter.
Next item is public hearing and adoption of ordinances. Anyone want to comment on ordinance number 19-2018 after Issa reads it in?
Ordinance 19-2018, an ordinance authorizing the private sale of Lot 9 in Block 5909 as shown on the tax map of the Township of Teaneck pursuant to NJSA 48:12-13.
Great. Anybody member of council have anything to say?
Yeah, I have a question. Is this the old recreation building, the DPW shop?
Yes, William?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it's 1425 Teaneck Road, DPW. Maintenance shop.
I'm under the impression that there is some equipment and things in there that can't be moved until we have a place to put them. So I don't know how you could sell a building that's full of stuff. That's one thing. The second part of it is, I remember a discussion where we were going to have a senior citizens development in that location. Is that part of this arrangement? Or is
That's
it
the
just
whole
some-
thing that we're going to zone it for. We haven't zoned it yet. So that's what we discussed, that I believe no one has changed their mind on.
Okay.
That's what we're doing. And as far as the selling, while it has the equipment, we're just going to put it up to bid, somebody closes on it, then we decide on what the closing date is once we figure out everything that we need to put. For all we know, he can buy it, he could still store it there until his plans are to, do the demolition and do things that he has to do.
This is the first
So-
step to the
so this is
process.
the first step, yeah.
Okay, so when you get the DPW straightened out, the stuff coming out of there can have a place to go, the shop.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
So Mayor, this is actually for
I'm
254
just-
East.
I just want to be
4th.
clear that there's nothing new here.
There's nothing new.
This is the
yeah.
same thing that we talked about 10 times.
No,
Yeah, this is a Webster Avenue and Forest Avenue
Yes,
corner. This is not
254
DPW.
East Forest. There's a resolution to go out to bid for 1425 on the consent.
That's
agenda.
later in the consent
Okay,
agenda.
Correct. This is to have a private sale of 254 East Forest.
Okay, can we
It's a
just-
small adjoining lot.
Could we just have the manager tell us about this for 10 seconds for the benefit of the public? I think this was just a small lot that was next to a house that serves no purpose to the town.
It's
that-
unbuildable. You can't do
That's
it.
unbuildable, correct?
Someone has an offer for sale, and this is part of the process.
Okay, and then under consent agenda, we'll go over the DPW.
Correct.
Thank you.
Are we talking about something else?
Yes.
Yes.
What are we talking about?
He just said it. East Forest Avenue.
Small lot?
There's a small lot at the corner of Webster and East Forest Avenue that came to us a few months ago that the council had authorized to go forward with a sale. It's an unbuildable property that we want to go out to the motions of selling it to the neighbor that can expand his property with but can't build on it. Mr. Manager, did I recall that correctly?
Yes.
There you
So he's going to pay for it?
go.
Pay the tax?
Mr. Manager, can you go over the
Yes,
process?
he is paying for it. The amount is, it's $8,000. It's a small lot adjacent to his property.
Okay, and then he pays taxes on the larger property at the end of the day?
Correct.
That sounds good to me.
Any members of the public like to wish to comment on this ordinance? Ordinance number 19-2018. Seeing no hands, the public hearing is now closed. I'd like to move ordinance number 19-2018 for adoption.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Dunleavy,
Yes.
Councilman Pruitt,
Yeah.
Councilman Kaplan,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes.
Mayor Hamidine.
Yes.
Ordinance is duly adopted.
Great. Next item on tonight's agenda is good and welfare. This is where you can speak for 3 minutes on any topic that you guys like. You guys understand how to use that thing yet? You got it? You got it? Okay, great. Okay. Would anyone like to speak? Sir in the red shirt?
Is this the appropriate time to speak about an ordinance that is being introduced tonight?
Yes, you can speak it now, and then when we're introduction, we don't, there's no introduction of ordinances tonight. Yeah,
There's no hearing during the
There's no hearing for the introduction, so this would be the time. Then when we're doing the adoption, in 2 weeks, you could speak again at that time. Anything you'd like, yes. Okay, so after him, and I'm going to...
Is this good welfare?
Just your name for the record, sir.
Yeah. My name is Larry Cohen. I live in Fanwood, New Jersey, but I'm here as a county legislative leader for the Humane Society of the United States. I spoke to you a month ago, and I want to congratulate you on introducing this ordinance to prohibit the retail sale of dogs and cats in pet stores in Teaneck. You will join 123 New Jersey towns, representing over 2.5 million New Jerseyans if you pass this. 21 of these towns are in Bergen County. They've already passed this ordinance. Hundreds of towns and cities across the nation, and 2 states, California and Maryland, have passed this statewide, made it a statewide law to prohibit this. I think you'll find that it reflects your citizens' values about this industry and the horrors involved in the treatment of these dogs. And at the same time, it protects you from having to deal with a store like Just Pups, which you may remember, I believe, had a location in Bergen County. We know that in East Hanover, that town had to spend over $100,000 in legal fees alone to close that store down. And that is not an uncommon occurrence. Over a dozen stores in the past several years have been forcibly closed by the towns in which they operate for either cruelty violations or other violations of state law. I think as you move forward, you're going to find great support for this. This ordinance welcomes businesses that deal with pet supplies and services, which is part of a $70 billion industry in America. The only part of that industry that is in decline is the part of stores that sell dogs and cats. Everything else is booming. There is plenty of money to be made, as you know, by stores like Petco and PetSmart, which refuse to sell dogs and cats in this industry. You may find some opposition as you move forward. It has been our experience in towns that a couple of pet store owners, not surprisingly, who do not live here, who do not work here, who do not vote here, will organize perhaps an email blitz against you. They may show up at the next meeting. It's important for you to understand where these people are coming from. Obviously, their motivation is profit. And that is the problem with this entire industry. It is profit ahead of the well-being and welfare of the animals. Last time I was here, I believe I handed this out to everybody, detailing exactly why this industry is so bad for animals and what the problems are on the federal and state level, how the federal government is moving to deregulate what little there is to protect the animals. We talked about the Animal Welfare Act, which is so poor in protecting animals. Please understand when you hear from these people.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
They've been fined and that their breeders have been found to be among the worst.
Thank you.
And I'd like, if I may, to hand this out so that you
Yep.
have an idea of the breeders that these stores source from.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Sir in the front?
can you wait to do the adjustment for the subcommittee resolution?
No, don't. Which one? I'm sorry. Which?
For the establishment of subcommittees, to add technology onto here. and to change budget to put the Henry on?
Yeah, we can do that on the 4th.
Okay.
We'll do it on the 4th. Sir?
How you doing? My name is James Scott. I know you guys probably don't remember me. I was here a year ago to talk about the renaming of the Elmer Place for Edward Prezant. Mr. Pruitt, I think you probably remember, okay? And I was told at that time that you would have some kind of decision in the spring, okay? I brought information about Edward Prezant, okay? And did you ever decide what to do about renaming streets?
We'll answer, sir, at the end. I'll ask the manager to follow up. At the end of Good and Welfare, that's
I've been here 5 times. I've been to the manager's 5 people's out. I spoke to his secretary. Nobody ever calls me back. I'm not going away. We have people here tonight. Okay, people, everybody at Prezant, please stand. Okay. Now we could have had 1,000 people here tonight. This is a man. This is somebody that you probably don't know who's a famous musician. Okay, if he walks in, if he comes off the plane in Japan, if he goes to he's been to the White House several times. This is something that, I mean, you're shaking your head.
No, sir, you know what, I understand there's a lot of angst, so let me...
No,
what I'm going to say is, how about I make this with that, and then I'll meet with you on Friday, and I'll get you a timeline of when we can get this all taken care of.
Thank you very much. That's
Okay, so make sure you just give, sir, make sure Issa has your contact information. Issa, give him my cell phone, and I'll meet with you on Friday in the afternoon, and we'll map out a time, sir.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Good evening. My name is Joyce Giddens, and I'm a co-chair of Teaneck Road Business Community Alliance. Forgive me for having to read this. I don't want to leave anything out. The purpose of this appeal before council is to obtain permission to use the Teaneck Township logo on Teaneck Road Business Community decals, can you hear me? As well as a background on merchant and community member as a thank you, and for stationary usage. After all, Teaneck Road bears the name of our township and its very location between major artery routes from Route 4, Route 80, Cedar Lane, and Washington Avenue admits it to be named by a former township leader, the gateway of Teaneck. In 2006, I was recently informed by Lillian Lewis that TRBCA, I'm going to call it, was allowed the privilege of using the township logo under the direction of former township manager Helene Fall. The decal, designed by one of TRBCA members, well, a couple of us, was sketched by a former student from Teaneck High who works with a local printer in town. TRBCA is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that followed after the North Teaneck Road Business Community Alliance, founded in 2005. Our goals are to create an appealing location of Teaneck Road as a gateway to Teaneck in order to attract shoppers from neighboring cities, north, south, east, and west, as well as from all sectors of Teaneck, to promote businesses and community to work together within a combined setting of schools, churches, and organizations along Teaneck Road. On behalf of the Teaneck Road Business Community Alliance, I'd like to thank our Township Manager, William Broughton, and other council members for working with us from 2013, after we followed the 2006 leadership, to birth Teaneck Road Streetscape 2018, which will brighten the northeast corridor of Teaneck and is currently out for bid. Yay!
Thank you. In the back? Yeah, all the way in the back. Thanks.
Hi, Debbie Eliyahu. I have a couple of just one-sentence things before I get to my main issue. First up is the fire engine issue. I think it's great. I just heard something a couple of weeks ago that there was an issue that fire engines out in someplace in California, I'm sorry, I don't recall, they had looked into fire engines that have a much smaller turning radius, which reduced the risk of collisions and reduced the number of accidents and injuries, both to firefighters and to others who were responding to fires and to others who were in the path of the fire engines. So I wondered whether that was something that was being looked into, and that was just a general question. I love the idea of the mini libraries. I was overseas visiting my college roommate. It was awesome. They have one in their neighborhood, and I thought, what a great idea, and I've seen a few around Teaneck. I think it's fabulous. My main issue that I wanted to bring up was the issue of contractors and how they're selected, how they're vetted, and how their work is basically monitored or warranted. My house is almost 85 years old. I've been in it for 20 years, haven't had major leaks in it. We had one, we fixed it, because if you don't fix it, it just gets worse. And I've been hearing for a while about the Rhoda Center, and it's just getting worse. And there doesn't seem to be the money to fix it. I know that the roads, you have a certain amount of money, and when it runs through, the roads have to be fixed. And I understand that, and it's really important, and I'm just thinking that maybe these things should be fixed first before the damage just gets worse, and maybe a timeout should be placed on new projects while the things that are really in dire need of fixing get repaired, like the Rhoda Center, before the damage gets worse. It's a new building. It was brand new when I moved in. The stairwell out here that's taped off with caution tape, which is a real hazard and a danger. And I don't see why a building that's that new should be having such major leaks when my 85-year-old building that I live in seems to be holding up so marvelously well. So I'm just wondering, and I remember the Cedar Lane sidewalk, which crumbled. I guess we all kind of remember that. I have the concerns over, the workmanship, and I was just wondering about that. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Fisher?
Mark Fisher, Teaneck. I just wanted to comment on the positive reaction that the council has had to the proposal concerning allowing little free libraries. As one of the several hats I wear, I am steward of Little Free Library Charter number 5813 at St. Mark's Church in Teaneck. It's been operating about a year now, and it's really working very well. And I think that they're an excellent resource for people throughout town. I had known about the lady in Point Pleasant because there's a network of people who run these things, and she had a really bad situation going there, and it's excellent that Teaneck has had the foresight not to have that happen here. And I'll be sending you an email concerning the proposal to put them in the parks. I think it's a little more complicated than you might think, and there's some pitfalls that you may want to be made aware of. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fisher. Yes, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Singleton. How is everyone doing today? Hope you had a great day. I just want to thank Manager Browden for addressing an issue I had asked about in front of Oregon Park. Someone had hit the barriers and it's fixed, so I really appreciate that. I also wanted to ask a question about in Volte Park in the playground area. There's a broken apparatus, which I don't think is safe for the kids. It has like tape around it. It's like a hippo. So I had taken some children there, and even though it's taped off, children still have a tendency to go towards that area. So I just hope, you take a look at that. It's a safety issue. And I just want to thank you for what you do for our town, and I appreciate everything you do, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Anyone else? Mr. Rose?
Good evening, Howard Rose. I speak to you not as a member of trustee on the Board of Education, but as a resident of the township. A couple of things. Spoke regarding taxes in terms of forming a charitable contribution. Now, I don't know if it's legal or not legal, and you'll get some feedback from the lawyer regarding that. But if it's still a contest of not knowing if it's legal or not legal because it's never been tried, is there any liability in just going for it and being a test case? What the heck? Municipal Open Space Fund is going to be used in part for the $8 million and change bond. I'm just wondering what the dollar amount is of that for the most money that you're considering as this proposal goes forward. I always vote yes when most money is asked as an extra tax on my tax bill, and I do that each time with the ever-present hope that perhaps one day it will be used towards acquiring additional land in full with the use of that money. Regarding TOPS and sponsoring it, great, keep it up, that's a terrific thing to do. I was wondering, though, if you're going forward with a specific dollar amount of money in mind towards that. As a side issue, I guess, hearing someone speak about the Rhoda Center and its needs, it reminds me over time of the cupola on a municipal building and its needs. Didn't get fixed, didn't get maintained, had to be redone. Police station had all of its terribly impervious surfaces to water, had to be redone. Rhoda Center is not cost efficient until that room is cost efficient to maintain. So we do put money towards that. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. Anyone else? Mr. Abbott?
Hi, Tom Abbott, Teaneck. Amongst the ordinances you're introducing tonight is one to ban the sale of marijuana in Teaneck. There seems to be some hurry to do it before there's any possibility of it being legal in New Jersey. There was very little discussion. The only discussion was, well, there are some towns in Bergen that are doing it already. And yes, there are 4 towns in Bergen that are doing it. But that's no reason. That's not a real reason. That's just, so what? The other was that there's something in the legislation that's going to only allow it if you do it beforehand. There is no such thing in the legislation in any of the versions I've seen. This is just something that's being thrown out in an attempt to hope by some people and groups to get marijuana banned town by town. If you're really going to go ahead and do this, I would like to hear some sort of discussion, especially as to why you think marijuana sales should be banned in Teaneck.
Anyone else? Dr. Hoffman?
Ken Hoffman, first as the chair of the PPRAB. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Katz, on the signage. We will look at it at our September 4th or 5th meeting, rather, and I invite the public to come. It's going to be a really busy meeting looking at the parks and playgrounds and recreation issues that have faced us over the last 3 months. Secondly, I would like also to know if there's been an official township stand on what's going on with the Teaneck Creek and the potential parking lot property across from the hotel, since I really don't think that Area 2, really we need to have Tyrannosaurus Rex and Brontosaurus there and a parking lot. But clearly it would be nice to know where the township stood so we just knew how to handle it. Third, on Ordinance 20, and this as me as an individual, on 20-2018, I am concerned a little bit about the marijuana thing, only dealing with medical marijuana. As a medical oncologist, we certainly are involved in using this on a therapeutic point of view, and I just want to make sure that we do not go against what's going through the medical board of examiners, as well as the legal issues of using this when treating a patient with various diseases.
Please, Howard, we're fine.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, talk. Just listen to it. Howard, don't yell, please. Thank you.
Finally, my last thing is there any news on all the Greenbelt stuff that had been so politic with respect to the Siegel and Siegel property, billboards, anything else that can be publicly discussed? I thank you very much, and I hope everyone has a good summer.
Thank you. Sir?
Hi, my name is George G., and I just want to do a quick follow-up on the, I know you guys are going to talk about this, Mr. Scott, about the street naming for Mr. Eddie Pizan, but I crossed 2 rivers and sat in traffic for 3 hours to get here. So I just want to say thank you for considering it. But I just wanted you to understand a little bit real quickly about Mr. Ed Pizan. And I know that name gets tossed around, but Eddie was a proud resident of Teaneck. Most importantly, he was a gentleman and a great American jazz musician that contributed very much to the fabric of society in a very positive and good way. And Eddie and myself, I'm a professional big band leader. We worked together for over 25 years, touring the World Jazz Festival, private affairs. He played for many politicians and celebrities, but more than anything, Eddie was very positive energy that really was a true representative of Teaneck. I hope you really spend a moment to consider naming a street. He lived on Elmer Place for, I believe, 45 to 50 years, and his family grew up there, and he went there every day coming home from touring around the world in New York City and New Jersey. So I just want to say thank you for entertaining that possibility.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no other hands, Good and Welfare is now closed. First meeting of the year. So, Jim, I'm going to start off with my right.
Just a couple of things. For the Teaneck Road Business Alliance, well, we'll have to discuss the request, certainly. What I would ask you to do, if you would please, is to send me an email, because what I would like to do is to start to perhaps maybe coordinate some activity with you in the chamber, and start to work out things a little bit more globally for the town than just for one area. You're a subcommittee of the chamber?
Okay.
Then absolutely forget what I just said, because we'll do it.
No back and forth, please.
We'll do it. Okay. The fire engines, how would we look into that?
The fire engine, that's not really an issue we've experienced on turning radius. The fire department has a committee. They put together a committee on purchasing new vehicles. They do a lot of work on, which manufacturer to choose and what type of vehicle. So this is something that, they consider and study, and so they would be on top of it if that's an issue. I've never heard that being an issue in this town.
Can I comment on that? I've driven a fire truck for 18 years, and it's a legitimate issue in towns. It's not an issue with us here. The trucks we have, the issue we have is that they have that they're the 1980s. But in terms of spending extra money for those, those apply to very specific situations which don't apply in Teaneck, which are costly, and the ones that Teaneck has and the ones I've driven in neighboring towns are fantastic.
Okay.
And
great.
exciting to drive also.
And they're fun to drive?
Yeah, it's great to drive.
Okay. And the only other question, can we get someone out to the playground in Votee?
Yes.
To take a look at that issue that was brought up?
I have it written down.
Great. Okay.
And there was one other issue. Actually, there's 2 issues. There was one question on most. In this ordinance, this ordinance is an appropriations ordinance too, so it gives authority to spend money as well, and not only bond. So the amount is $25,000, and that's for the markers. to come out of most. And then the other question was, you answered it, the turning radius.
Okay, I'm good.
I want to thank Mr. Cohen for coming out. I know the situation in the puppy mills is pretty horrendous. Before I did have a question on the ordinance. I know that the last time you came out, you had mentioned that the requirements, I'm not sure if it was USDA or whoever handled it, made it pretty much impossible for us to limit the situation to only stores that breed puppies from, for lack of a better term, legitimate sources. I'd like to ask if our council, because I did read your packet, I also read the state bills that you've submitted that were pending before the state, which have slightly tangential issues. If it's possible to look into the legal issue to see if the town can, in fact, before we ban everything outright, limit the wording so that there is a legally permissible way to allow certain pet stores that breed from legitimate sources while disallowing the ones that come from puppy mills and the places that do these horrendous things. While we have no pet stores in town, obviously it's not a huge rush to pass this, but I would like to pass it quickly if we have the ability to do it in a better way for the future. Do we need a vote for the TRBCA to use the logo, or?
Didn't you say that anybody's allowed to use the logo?
No. Or should we wait until we have the logo discussion in the ordinance and then bring that up?
Whatever makes it faster, I'm for.
So I think we said that for now, as long as 4 members of the council agree that they could use it. That's
okay. I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
You want to make? Do we need to make a motion?
I mean, you have a resolution on the agenda about the whole local policy, so.
All right. So
okay. Great.
Put it in there. Look forward to hearing about the mini libraries, and I will leave it at that for now, and I'll talk about the ordinances when they come up.
Okay, Henry, who gave me this? You? Put it on the next agenda.
I imagine there was a whole lot of mopping that went on at the Roller Center in the past couple of days because they've got a leaky roof. I'm having a hard time understanding why it is that we have bonding authorization in the budget, and we have bonding needs, and we keep kicking the can down the road. I don't understand that.
I can answer.
I think a couple of years ago, we told the Chamber of Commerce, we're going to make a space for you down in the basement. That hasn't happened. We have the food pantry that's in an outer room on the other building, and that should come into this building. You have to maintain the property that you have, and we have the money to do it. I don't understand why we keep kicking the can down the road. As far as marijuana is concerned, we assume, and I think the assumption is real, that in New Jersey, as in lots of places, they're going to legalize marijuana. And my position is not to become the go-to place for that, and not to become the go-to place for growing it either. Now, as far as filling a prescription, that's another matter altogether. But we're 6 miles from New York City, and if New Jersey legalizes marijuana, we do not have to be available for all kinds of folks from across the river to come in and get their needs taken care of here. That's why I'm in favor of the anti-marijuana bill. I think that's all I have to say.
There was a question about a piece of apparatus, the hippo that's broken. It's been ordered to be replaced.
Mark?
Dr. Pruitt touched base on it. The money to repair the Rhoda Center I think there are two people that discussed it. I'll address them. Mr. Rose, that's in the bonding. It needs to be fixed. The building is 30 years old. We are adding millions of dollars of debt as we repair millions of dollars of facilities that we have throughout town. It's something that has to get done, something I'll be in favor of. Unfortunately, the comment about, I think Mr. Eliahu, I don't know if she left, the comment about our contractors that we choose is, she's back, okay, I'm sorry. The issue about contractors that we choose is that our lovely state, one of the worst in the nation, requires us to do the lowest bidder. And we have very few people bidding on our projects. We had some very, very, very tight pay-to-play rules in effect. Most of our projects have one or sometimes two or sometimes no bidders on it, and we're just stuck with just garbage. I mean, we really are, and the state and the legislature really has to understand that just because you're the lowest bidder doesn't mean that we should have to choose you. But right now, for Mr. Manager, if I'm correct, we have to, correct?
Well, there are, we can choose the lowest responsive bidder, but we better have a very good reason for disqualifying bidders. I think that what you're saying is probably what actually occurs. The lowest bidder, it's very, very difficult to exclude them. But to me, it's an issue of, you take a project and you put it out to everyone who has a New Jersey business license to do business and may have the capacity to do the work, instead of having some ability to choose contractors that have done good work for you. I mean, no one would put out to anybody in the world and say, can you do a job for me? And you don't know them and you let them come in. Even if you have specs, something can be built to the spec and still not be built well. So that's, maybe it's a New Jersey issue. It's a tough issue to get around.
Mark, you done? I'm done. You next. You good?
Just a quick question. Did we do the plaque for the splash pad, and when are we doing the grand opening for that?
Okay, so with regards to the splash pad, I haven't discussed it with the Trinidad family yet, but I think Henry made a suggestion for me that, and I had said it at the funeral, that we should, at the appropriate time, we would have a memorial and dedicate something in the township to the Trinidad family. And I think that the splash pad is something that would be appropriate.
I think it's a good idea. I'll start working on the wording and circulate it to council.
But we haven't reached out to the family yet.
What?
So Dean, if you could reach out to the family and see if that's the way to move forward.
We have it in here?
Okay.
We have it in here?
What?
The wording?
No, we don't have anything. You can work with Dean and get it done.
Right. He's got it. Why don't we just approve the wording and then go to the Trinidad?
For what? Are you talking about the plaque? Let's wait until we talk to him, and then get the wording done and do everything else. We're going to approve whatever you say, most probably. I don't think that, like the last three plaques made a difference. You're the plaque subcommittee.
I am.
The member of one. Okay.
All right,
So
I'll submit
with
it
Mr.
for
Bazan, we are going to move forward with that. Sometimes things do fall through the cracks. I think I remember him coming back up in February and asking for the street to be named, and it just, for some reason, it never made its way through the system.
Does council, I personally don't know much about this gentleman, I'll be honest with you.
Okay, so they'll send it over. I'll get the information on Friday, and I'll give it to you. Okay, so we'll go from there, and we'll go from there. In terms of marijuana, I think that the state, in its wisdom, is going to be granting out 6 licenses in the fall. Guess what? So they decide that on August 1st, they're going to put out the license, and by August 31st, you're going to have to get approve the license. The amount of people that were at the information center was 800 for 6 licenses. This is a hedge fund money grab, okay? That if you think that everything that they told us is going to come down and trickle into our town, I don't believe it. So that's why I'm against having dispensaries in my town, and I'm against having growers in my town. People are going to disagree until somebody shows me something different. I don't think that having people coming into town to have marijuana, pick up marijuana, smoke marijuana on our streets, and do everything else, is not something that I'm in favor of is the future of Teaneck, and I think that some people think that it's okay. But one thing that I learned from Doug Glanville and what his situation was in Connecticut is the thing that we need to avoid is having confrontations between police and people who are just walking down the street. And if you're adding marijuana there and you're adding people who are, maybe doing something that they're not supposed to or doing something they're not supposed to, and people calling the police and everything else, the question comes down to is why are we bringing this to our town? I'm fundamentally against it. I think that, as I know, there are people in the legislature who are involved in this business. There are every business opportunity in the world. It's it's on, what is it, 6 licenses, 300 minutes, $1.8 billion evaluation that's running through here. And I find it to be just an offensive, another poor tax.
Just a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Does this ordinance actually stop people from smoking in town? Does it
No,
do that?
not at all. But you understand where I'm coming from, and then we can talk about the ordinance itself. Me and you are fundamentally in disagreement with this, and that's not a problem. I will be voting for the ordinance. I'm sure you will be voting against the ordinance. And guess what? We can still be friends.
Yes, we
right?
will.
Isn't that just special?
I'm just asking based on what you said.
Yeah, but isn't that just special?
Yes.
Thank you. And on that note, I think we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Somebody want to move the consent agenda and the bill list?
With the consent agenda with the bill list and the amount of?
$9,879,322.21.
So moved.
Second.
Now, this is the resolution. We took out 154-2018.
Yes.
That's taken out.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, so I'd like to pull 154-2018.
And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to just get clarification on 155-2018 and also pull 158-2018. Just take it out for right now to
Which one?
carry it.
155-2018, and what's the other one?
158-2018.
158, restricted land, 2018, officially sanctioned.
But I just need explanation on 155-2018, please.
Okay, so everything except 155-2018, and 158-2018, and 154, the conduct investigation committee.
Should I do 155 as a planning board?
Which one? Well, hold on, we're going to vote, and then we're going to go every...
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, roll call.
Councilman Dunleavy. Councilman Pruitt.
Yeah.
Councilman Kaplan.
Yes, with the exception of 151-2018.
We didn't discuss it yet. It's just pulled. Okay.
Yes.
So that's yes. Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes on all but, sorry. Yes on all but abstain on 159 and 160.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes, with an abstention on the bill list.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
And Mayor.
Yes.
Consent agenda passes.
Wonderful. What about the bill list?
The bill list
Everything else?
And bill list, everything else.
In the minutes?
One shot.
Okay.
Also, Mr. Mayor, I thought I asked to be added to the agenda, and maybe I missed it. Did we put on the personnel subcommittee? Over the next few months, there's going to be some personnel interviews.
You want to appoint that
Just,
one?
you just adopted it, 164.
So 164 is there?
Yep, it's got everything on it.
It includes, and the members are myself, the mayor, and Dr. Pruitt, correct?
Hang on one moment, I confirm that.
One of the things is we can remember.
It's on page 209, Deputy Mayor. The personal subcommittee is Councilman Pruitt, Deputy Mayor Katz, Mayor Hamidi.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll have to make an amendment for next week.
155-2018. Mark?
155 is a planning board resolution that was passed, approval of a 6,000 square foot property. This is the developer's agreement, which is standard practice for the council to sign.
All right, I'll approve it.
I've seen a motion in a second.
I'll make the motion to approve 155-2018.
Roll call, please. We got a second
Second.
from Mayor Katz, Deputy Mayor Katz.
Okay, so
Okay.
Mark.
Roll call.
Councilman Dunleavy on 155.
Yes.
Councilman Pruitt.
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan.
This is 155?
Yes.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes.
Mayor Hamidi.
Yes.
155 passes.
The 154, what do you want to do? You want to table that?
Yeah, that's being tabled right now, sorry.
So do we have to, all in favor to table 154-2018?
Second.
So just the motion and seconds.
Yeah, all in favor? Aye.
And you're tabling also 1582018.
I'd like to second that motion. Okay.
So
All in
158 you're tabling as well.
Yeah. All in favor? Roll
Aye.
call? Just do a roll call on that one.
Okay, Councilman Dunleavy,
Aye.
Councilman Pruitt,
Okay.
Councilman Kaplan,
This is tabling until...
158. Yeah, is this tabling indefinitely or with a date?
Next meeting.
Okay. So is that yes, Councilman Kaplan?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz, Deputy Mayor Katz?
Yep.
They can use it. Mayor Hamidi?
Yes.
But they're going to use it. So it's tabled until September 4th?
Perfect, yeah. Okay.
Is 154 tabled indefinitely or?
Yes, indefinitely.
Indefinitely, yeah. Okay, introduction of ordinances.
Are we going to the record? Ordinances. Ordinance 18-2018, an ordinance establishing positions and salary ranges for executive, managerial, professional, and confidential employees and for unclassified municipal employees in the Township of Teaneck effective January 1, 2018. Ordinance 20-2018, an ordinance amending Chapter 33, Development Regulations of the Code of the Township of Teaneck prohibiting the production, processing, or sale of marijuana, marijuana products, or marijuana paraphernalia within the Township of Teaneck. Ordinance 21-2018, an ordinance amending Section 33-29, fences and retaining walls of Article 5, zoning of Chapter 33, development regulations of the Code of the Township of Teaneck pertaining to fences within the front yards on corner lots. Ordinance 22-2018, an ordinance to amend the provisions of Section 33-18, subsection C, and Section 33-3 of Chapter 33 of the Code of the Township of Teaneck relating to signs and definitions, and Ordinance 23-2018, an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Animals and Fowl of the Code of the Township of Teaneck to restrict the retail sale of dog and cats within the Township of Teaneck.
Okay, I'd like to move the ordinances. Ordinance number 18-2018, 20, yeah, we want to pull one for discussion?
Yeah, I wanted to pull 18.
18, the salaries, okay.
And also 20.
Okay, so we'll do these separately, and then let's do number 21-22, I'd like to move ordinance number 21-2018. Am I missing any? That's it? That's the last one?
So 21, 22, and 23, Mayor.
21, 22, and 21, 22, and 23. I'd like to move those three ordinances, please. We need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Dunleavy,
Yes.
Councilman Pruitt,
No on 21, yes on the other two.
Councilman Kaplan.
Yes on 21, yes on 22, and I will abstain on 23 until I can get more info from our council.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
1 second. So 18's pulled. Yes on 20.
20's pulled.
20 pulled.
20, okay. Yes on 21. I'm missing. Sorry, give me 1 second. I apologize.
Which one are you, 22 or
20,
23?
both 22 and 23. What am I missing?
23. Retail sale of dogs, that's one.
I'm sorry. I apologize. 22, absolutely yes, and 23, I'm abstaining on.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes on 21, yes on 22, and yes on 23.
And Mayor Hamidi.
Yes on all three?
They're duly introduced.
Okay, great. All right, Keith, 18?
Yeah, so at the last meeting, I had asked the manager regarding the salary ordinances. My concern was that we seem to be in lockstep just raising the maxes on all the salaries, and I wanted to see where the salaries actually were. Mr. Manager, I had asked you about them, and you had sent me a list of where the salaries were for the individuals, and when I ran it through the spreadsheet, only one or two, I believe, needed a raise in the max in order to accommodate their salary increases. You had said you were going to provide a new list. Do you have that?
It should be attached to the agenda, actually, Councilman.
Yeah.
Also, can you explain why I think there's one stipend or maybe two stipends on the salary ordinances? What's the reason for that stipend?
The stipend, the particular individual Actually, there's, in our code, it allows the manager to provide stipends for certain employees. This particular employee has received a stipend for the work that he does. I don't want to say who the employee is. And he's probably had that stipend for how many years? Over 10 years. He had the stipend before I got here. And the stipends, remain the same. So he receives a stipend and a base amount.
But we don't know why we're giving it, we're just...
Well, it was, he's getting it for...
And by the way, I'm not questioning whether this person should or shouldn't get it, that's not the issue. I'm just questioning what the reason this person over everyone else.
I'm trying not to reveal who the person is by saying much, but I didn't give the stipend, but I could imagine that during that period that he took on additional work and helped build a lot of systems here, and was given that additional compensation for that work.
Okay, so do we want to, Keith, you want to move this introduction? You want to table until you get more information for the next one?
I'll move it for introduction, and if...
Okay, so we'd like to move ordinance number 18-2018.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Dunleavy on ordinance 18.
Yes.
Councilman Pruitt.
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes.
Mayor Meany.
Yes.
Ordinance 18 is introduced.
Okay, Keith. Take your best shot.
Marijuana?
Yeah.
So I agree with...
Tom Abbott?
Yes, I agree with Tom Abbott. I think that the mayor's concerns are legitimate regarding marijuana being sold in the township. I also think it's pretty much irrelevant because marijuana is being sold today in the township. It's being sold tomorrow. It's going to be sold the next day. And the economics of marijuana sales do not cease to exist because we wish them to be. And right now, adults, children, people that have absolutely no business, even under new legislation, have come into access to unscrupulous individuals who will sell them anything. And what I would like to see is the market for these horrible individuals that would sell to our children decimated. And one of the ways that you get rid of a market is by taking away the people that would purchase their product. And one of the things that will remove a lot of people from purchasing their product is by enabling adults that legally can purchase it to do so.
Okay.
And I have serious concerns, and what I would like to do before we consider this, since there is no state legislation on the agenda, is to speak to the groups that have been dealing with the problems in the community dealing with children, to speak with the groups that have been dealing with the problems in communities most affected by drugs, and ask them their professional opinion on whether or not the horribles that you're predicting will actually occur, because I have a feeling that if we reach out to these groups, we're not going to hear that.
I was with Tony Voss from Irvington on Friday. Okay, so I have a really understanding of how this is moving forward, who the players are and what's going on. But here's my take on this, right, is by us passing this, doesn't stop, I guarantee you Scutari's legislation passes. And guess what? There's no transparency. There's no big hearings. Just like the same way they rammed through these 6 licenses and said, oh, by the way, you have a month to apply for these 6 licenses and we're going to vet it in 2 months and you're going to get it. The same way that bill is going to pass and ram right through and say, like, oh, we were for transparency and we had a promise. That being said, right, I think that the things that we're talking about when you talk about the illegality of marijuana being sold, and I would have heard about these issues from the police department if it was a issue that was rampant. Do I believe in decriminalization? Absolutely. Absolutely, I believe in decriminalization. But that all being said, right, I can change this ordinance once I look at, okay, Where are we going to sell it? How is it going to be sold to? Who is going to own these licenses and dispensaries? Is it an equitable play that they said that, oh, we're going to have minority licenses in it? Well, because I know who the players are who are pouring for Patterson. I know who the players are in Newark. I know who the players are in Irvington, right? And everything that was sold to us is being done. The people who are putting in the $500,000 for these applications are all hedge fund managers from New York City, right? So what I'm saying is, okay, look, we were sold this thing that was saying that this is going to be good from top to down. We were sold this thing that everybody's going to participate. We were sold this thing that's saying that people who are in jail are going to come out of jail because of this. So what I'm saying is, well, none of those things that you promised have happened. So until those things happen, just like, I was for, the dinosaur park, I didn't have an opinion on it until I said, well, what's going to happen for Teaneck? What does Teaneck get out of it? Then it's the same way. So don't give up your trump card by saying, oh, I'm going to get this, when the legislature hasn't come up with everything that they said that they were going to give us.
Now, just to be clear, by not passing this, that doesn't mean we have a dispensary in town. We still have zoning regulations, we still have site plan review, and we still have various mechanisms at the town's disposal. But what this does is pass legislation in our name. And I read it. And it says that it's deemed necessary for the proper good of government, for the preservation of public safety and welfare of the municipality, and to promote the health, safety, and morals of the general welfare. And, I mentioned at the last meeting, we have a lot of old ordinances that are misplaced. One of them that I mentioned just offhand was a ban on pinball. And believe it or not, the same wording is there.
Did he get his license?
What?
Did he?
No.
And I think 40 years from now, we are going to look back, and politicians that banned marijuana as a permitted use in their towns, their countries, are going to be looked at in the short term as heroes.
I disagree, but Keith,
But in
I
the
think,
long term,
Keith, I'm not fundamentally in disagreement with you. I think you are closer than we are. What I'm saying is that, yeah, let's send the message that the stuff that I talked about that they promised that they're going to do before we change our tune.
I'd like to send that message in a letter instead of an ordinance.
No, because see, that's where the politics gets into it. You're the second largest municipality in Bergen County, right? You have weight. Whether you want to know it or not, you have weight. And if you want to sit here and send a message to Trenton, if you want to sit here and send a message to the governor, and you want to send, then pass this ordinance. If you want to say, hey, I'm going to lay down for everything that you guys say, and I'm not going to look out for Teaneck, and I'm just going to pass it and say everything that you did, I'm going to scoop it in and say that it's good, then say I'm for exactly what Trenton did. But guess what? You and I know that all of our problems stem from one place. That keeps moving the goalpost. You were sold that it's going to be good for everybody. You were sold that everybody. You were sold that.
I'm not arguing with you on the politics end.
Okay, then.
I'm arguing on the actual end.
Then I'm asking you.
This bans.
I'm asking you to give me 6 months to figure out where the legislature.
This bans marijuana paraphernalia.
And
What
let's-
happens to rolling papers in Rocklands tomorrow if this passes?
I don't think that ever is something that's like the plastic bag issue. Like, who's enforcing it, right? Like, you think somebody's going to walk into them and be like, freeze, you got easy
I
wires.
think that Eric Garner didn't assume that the police would be enforcing Lucy cigarettes.
Let's not.
No. Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. You brought up during Good and Welfare that you are worried about police interacting with residents.
So you think that because there's going to be that complaint,
Yes, I
the
think
guy's
that-
going to say it's like you bought easy wires. I'm going to come in and grab.
I think that every law that we pass as a government brings with it the enforcement end of that regime.
I see that I'm not going to bridge the gap with you.
And I think we as legislators need to be very careful what enforcement mechanisms we are bringing to the people that enter our municipality.
Agreed.
And I do not want to bring the police to enforce an ordinance for something that will be absolutely legal to smoke in the municipality, but not legal to sell.
Yeah, but you realize easy wires, I can roll tobacco in easy wires, right?
That's why I'd like to know what qualifies as marijuana paraphernalia.
Can I
Yeah,
say
go
that?
ahead.
It's not about marijuana. It's about some people making an awful lot of money. It's all about the money. And from a public image in the Township of Teaneck, we don't have to have it here, and we should not have it here.
Okay, so I'd like to introduce ordinance number 20-20-2018, please. We need a second, Henry.
Yeah, okay.
So, we need a second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Dunleavy.
Yes, for purposes of the public hearing.
Councilman Pruitt.
Yep.
Councilman Kaplan.
No.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes.
Mayor Hamidi.
Yes.
Ordinance is introduced.
Thank you. What?
We're still
We got
friends,
the
right?
manager.
Manager's report.
We got the manager's report.
We're still friends, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, manager's report. We're working on creating a list of streets repaired, to be repaired and repaved to go on the website. That's something that's being worked on. The council wanted a letter written to the Port Authority asking for overnight truckers to be toll-free. That's being worked on. I spoke to Mr. Kaplan, Councilman Kaplan, regarding the Saturday 3-hour parking restriction, LED sign ordinance. I still have to meet with Mr. Kaplan, the attorney, to review that. Plaque for the splash pad. Deputy Mayor Katz is going to be working on that, correct? The credit card issue, I will be reaching out to the vendors once Mr. Kaplan provides me with that information. We're seeking pricing on the digital sign for the municipal green. The attorney's working on preparing an ordinance to amend the township ordinance for various signs. I had a discussion with Mr. Kaplan regarding a safe area of exchange for internet purchases. And we think that in the police lobby, if anyone wanted to enter that lobby and use that to exchange things, that they sold over the internet, that would be acceptable. The store at 513 Cedar Lane, they've installed a sign now. And Mr. Kaplan had asked me about the...
So that's the race car store?
No, this is 513, I think it's the appliance store.
It's the appliance store. It's the other issue from
Did you have an
from
update
down south.
on the race car store? Did they get their approvals?
They haven't got their approvals. I believe the attorney's office is still working on that.
Mr. Mayor, can the attorney's office please try to follow up with that?
The issue is, it is a business owner who wants to install a slot car and bowling facility, mini bowling, at a place on Cedar Lane. I think the address is, what's the address?
555 Cedar Lane. I believe the update is that the attorney and the building department have come to a resolution that'll work within our 1920s or so era ordinances, and that until those ordinances are changed, the applicant will be able to open under what the attorney and the building department resolved. Would be a closed caption TV to allow for visual access into the basement. So I believe they're just finalizing that, but that is the status that's going through the final steps to make sure it's in accordance with the current ordinances until the ordinances themselves are changed.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You finished?
I'm not finished, but if you have...
Finished.
Okay. All right. Two other items. Recreation Department, full-time position. We have one employee who's been there a long time, and she works part-time. She does all the scheduling. Very valuable. We'd like to move that employee to a full-time position so that employee doesn't leave us. The second one is the parking enforcement officer. We used to have several parking enforcement officers who were part-time. Now we have one, and one full-time, and we'd like to move the part-timer to full-time. And really, the money that we have, and we're going to use.
I'm in
for
favor of
part-time.
that. I think it's worth it, especially with our parking issues that we have. My only request is, can we get a report monthly of the number of summonses they've issued? We used to get that with the parking enforcement officers. It just shows their productivity. And do we have, for that position, do we have a third available, or is it 2 part-times, 3?
Right now, when we move this one person, we'll have 2 full-timers and no part-timers. We haven't been able to get any part-timers lately.
But we have now the position available for a part-time if we move it?
Yeah. We can have that.
Okay.
All right, so I'm moving forward with those 2 positions.
Anybody have any objections? Yeah. You have an objection to the position?
No.
So you want to talk about something else?
Can I just chime in one quick thing? Mr. Attorney, on 22-2018, I just noticed a typo in section 2. It says paragraph 5D4. It's actually paragraph 5D in total. It replaces subsections 1 and 2.
Go ahead.
I just want to some housekeeping. We have the Lou Schwartz, the plaque. We ought to have the clerk put together a ceremony so we can have the family come and see that presented. We also have the Lizette Parker picture. We ought to have some kind of ceremony about
We reached out
that.
to the family, if we're going to do that at the September meeting,
Yeah,
because
okay.
Javon's not here, so she wanted to be here.
But I'm just saying we need to have those 3 things lined up.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything? Guys want, we got about an hour and 10 minutes. Anybody want to argue about something?
Motion to adjourn?
Oh, wait a minute. Give me a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah, motion to adjourn. Second. Do we have a second? All in favor?
Any opposed? Adjourned at 9:46. The episode when they wanted to expand the union. Like a deer, Homer got it, and Mr. Burns like,
So basically, when they got it, they said,